A new Buffy the Vampire Slayer spin-off has been announced, which includes original cast members' involvement, which is really exciting. I am particularly excited. I am a big Buffy fan from back in the day. So in this video, we're going to talk about what was revealed in the press release, who is returning, and some lingering questions that I have and have discovered the answers for on Twitter, like, does this continue the continuity of the official continuation comics that were released a few years ago? All that and more in this video. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like to consume and enjoy. Things like Doctor Who, do a lot of Doctor Who. Things like Red Dwarf and things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I haven't talked about in a while on this channel, but I have talked about before. And hey, looking like I might talk about a bit more frequently from now on, given that this is coming out. We'll be talking about this series that's coming out. It's an Audible series, so it's an audio drama. It's like Big Finish, but for the Slayerverse. Slayerverse? Buffyverse? What do you call it? Let me know in the comments below. Personally, I like to go with Slayerverse. It's more expansive. Buffy is I know Buffy started it all, but it's very insular to one character, isn't it? Buffy. But the lore of the show is much more expansive than her. There were Slayers for hundreds of years before her. There will be Slayers after her. And, you know, Slayers are the unique thing. So Slayerverse is where I like to go. But let me know what you think. So what do we know from the press release? Well, there's this article on Entertainment Weekly all about it, which talks about the returning cast members and what the general plot is going to be. And it sounds quite interesting. The stars that are returning for this new show include James Masters as Spike. He's the new kind of hero of the story in a way. Charisma Carpenter is back as Cordelia Chase, but not the Cordelia Chase we know. An alternative universe Cordelia Chase, who is a Slayer. Juliet Landau as Drusilla, Emma Caulfield Ford as Anya, Amber Benson as Tara, James Charles Leary, which is a name you may not be instantly familiar with, but he is an alum from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He played Clom, the Demon Clom. The Demon Clom is back. And Danny Strong, who played Jonathan, he's back as well. So lots of returning cast members who will be lending their voice to this. The story begins as Spike has gone deep undercover in LA, convincing the forces of darkness that he's back to his evil ways. But when his cover is compromised by 16-year-old Indira Nunnally, Spike finds himself on baby Slayer sitting duty once more. While he attempts to track down a watcher for his eager new protege, their paths collide with the veteran Slayer of a parallel universe where Buffy Summers never existed. And Cordelia Chase is the one and only Slayer. Cordelia as a Slayer. Interesting. Cordelia needs Spike's help with a classic big bad terrorizing her world, his old flame, Drusilla. So this is being written by Amber Benson, who is a writer as well as an actor. So as well as playing Tara on the show, she is a writer. She is teaming up with Christopher Golden, who has written Buffy the Vampire Slayer books before, novels, and has written stuff with Amber before. I think the Albion books that he wrote with her. I've not read them. If you have, let me know if they're any good. And so they have a prior working relationship. Amber, I think, has written some Buffy stuff in comic form, possibly, in the past. So some, you know, these people have, the writers of this know what they're talking about with the lore as well. This is going to pick up apparently 10 years after the end of the TV series. So, you know, time has passed, people have got older, and we'll see where they exist in that time frame after the end of the Buffy and Angel series. Now, one question that was hot on my lips was, is this going to take any account of the continuity of the comics, which picked up after the end of the TV series and followed Buffy as she set up a sort of training camp for Slayers, and they were doing worldwide Slayer missions and various things. And that continuity of the comics was deemed as the official continuation for a long time because it was written or spearheaded by Joss Whedon himself. So as the kind of creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it kind of had his seal of approval. He was executive producing it. He wrote a few of the issues, like the first one, and a few outlined the big story arcs for it. So, that was deemed as the official continuation by fans for many years. Now, Joss Whedon's star has waned slightly due to certain accusations against him and just generally being out of the limelight. And I don't think as many fans are as fast. There was a time when I would have thought there should be no continuation of Buffy without Joss's involvement. I'm less fussed about that now, frankly. And so the comics might I did have a fear that they might be. I would have loved for them to be continued and it just referenced, not just subtly. You don't need to make it a big thing so people think they're missing something if they don't get it, but not contradicted, let's just say. However, I don't think that's the case. I didn't think that would be the case reading this, and that has been confirmed on Twitter by the writer. Christopher Golden did a little Q&A on Twitter, just asking fans if they had any questions about this new series, and lots of people did, funnily enough, and several of the questions were the same as mine. Somebody asked, this guy Roger asked, does this take into account the stories in the comics at all, or does it pick up right after the end of the Buffy and Angel TV series? And Christopher's very clear, it says TV continuity only. Now, I suppose there is a chance that, hey, maybe it doesn't directly contradict anything and we can all headcanon it, that it takes place after all the comics. But there will probably be at least small contradictions in there, if not some rather big ones. So you kind of got to think of this as after the end of the TV series, maybe like 3 different parallel universes. This is a story about parallel universes after all, so hey, we know there are multiple parallel universes in the Slayerverse. Each of the continuations is one of them. And there have been more than just these 2 as well. So we've now got this audio drama continuation. We have a comic continuation. There was a book continuation. Didn't have that many entries in it, I don't believe. But there was a continuation that went in a different way to the comics around the same time. So they're all just parallel universes from each other. We could, any one of them, they all exist. That's where the timeline split for these particular events. The TV series is canon to them all. They are not all canon to the TV series. That kind of thing. Also in this Q&A, he confirmed it will be a full cast, full effects, as he says, movies for the ears. This is, the kind of, hopefully the quality that Big Finish do. And it's going to be an absolute full cast audio drama, not an audio book. They're very different things. So that's great. That's why we've got so much cast involved in this. They will really immerse us in the world. So as a big Buffy fan back in the day, I am really looking forward to this. Buffy for a long time was sort of my main fandom. Long before I was creating content on the internet about Doctor Who, I was creating it about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Not in video form, but when I was a teenager in the late 90s, I had a Buffy fan site. Oh yes, I had a cringeworthy Buffy fan site where I would post, I had a spoilers page, I had an image gallery where both things, I just stole things from other pages. I just took images from other pages and stuck them on image galleries. I took, like the official image shots basically just made into a gallery. All the publicity photos, anything, any magazine shoots, I just stuck on there. And then I had like spoilers pages, which was mostly turned out to be absolute rubbish rumours that nothing happened. Anyway, I had a Buffy fan page in the late 1990s, long before I had anything on the internet to do with Doctor Who. So I'm a big Buffy fan, and I'm excited about this coming back. Have you seen Buffy before? Do you, I imagine you probably didn't click on this video if you didn't, but are you looking forward to this coming back? And what's your feelings about staying in continuity or not with the comics? Would you have preferred them to or not? Let me know all that in the comments below, and I'll be back with more Buffy videos, at least when this comes out, because I'll probably talk about it some more. And I might do some videos. I've been thinking about doing some videos on the comics. So if you'd like a little season by season recap of the comics, let me know in the comments below, and I might think about doing that too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.